guys. Welcome to this episode of the Trainer Feed. We got a special guest. I think Jacques was able to get one of his buddies from across the pond, Coach Jonathan Dick. But before we get into kind of like questions and stuff like that, let's see how everybody's doing. Jacques, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Had a pretty sick week. I'll actually on Monday I had a video shoot for Equinox, which I'll probably tell you in more detail at the end of after we've had John on. And it was a good experience, and it was like actually pretty strastraightforward.
Here we go. All right.
All right, David, how you doing?
David, how you?
So are you gonna come up? Are you gonna be on those?
I'm gonna be on those videos.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
Oh god.
But guess what? I've got a mask on. See what I know it's even me.
Okay, we gonna know it's you. I'm gonna walk by and be like, oh my god, it's him. And then
a dumbass walk.
What the fuck is that? Oh sorry. Pardon my
David, how you?
I'm good. I had a chill day, nothing crazy. I got an early workout in. Did some shopping that I needed to do, and now I'm home. I took a nap earlier, so that was pretty nice. I didn't even know I took a nap. I woke up, I'm like, oh shit.
2 o'clock.
Took a nap. No, it was like 1:30. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, no, pretty chill. No plans this weekend. So
Good stuff. Angel, what about you, man? How you been?
Been good. Did a little cookout action, going to the botanical garden, and all that stuff. So it's been like the summer in the city as it's winding down.
Yeah, it's kind of good weather right now, though. I feel like yesterday was humid as horrible. It's so nasty. But today it's like the complete polar opposite, where it's like nice and breezy in the 70s. So it's a good time. Fall's coming. But yeah, excited to have Jonathan Dick is a TRX coach at the Equinox in London at South Kensington, and I've just been fortunate to meet him a couple of times when I've gone over there. And yeah, excited to have him on. So
is Jacques here from London?
I'm born in London. Yep.
Those of you who never would have known.
Everyone in the US is like, so how's London? I'm like, you mean what about the rest of the country or
London?
Like, London, fucking London. So that's where I'm born, but like in South Kensington is actually the area where I was born as well. So it just happens to be.
Shit.
Oh yeah. Okay. Don't ask me what happened, but
all right, my bad. All right.
Nah, it wasn't my doing.
This guy. Oh.
So yeah.
All right, let's bring him on.
What's up, man?
Hey.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good. So Jonathan, this is Angel and David, my co-workers and co-hosts that I work with on the Upper West Side in New York City.
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
How's it going?
Not too bad. Been a long day at work, but nice to be here with you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining on. I know I asked you like very last minute, so we appreciate you being flexible and jumping on. And it's 7 p.m., right?
Yeah, what time is it over there? 7 o'clock?
Yeah, it's about 7:05. It's perfect timing, and I actually couldn't be happier to be on here and like actually get to catch up with you, Jack.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to it, man. I feel like I think I bumped into last summer of the club like for like 5-10 minutes, and I actually have plans to be back in the UK for another wedding this summer, but obviously everything happened, so I wasn't able to come over. But how have things been? I know the lockdown has been somewhat similar, but like you guys closed a little after us, and then you kind of open back up before us. Like, how's it been?
Well, I mean, I think, what was it? March 16th was the Monday.
Yeah.
Was when we kind of started hearing it was a big spread of COVID and coronavirus across like the Western Hemisphere. And then that night we got the email that all the gyms were closing. So on the Tuesday, a few of us went back in to get our stuff. And that was the last time we saw each other like in person up until I think June, when they said that you could have like gatherings in the park and be socially distant. And that's when we probably all caught up as more of a team, and about at least half of us got together in the park near the gym. but then we didn't actually get back into the gym until the end of July, so the 25th.
Wow.
So we had a good 4-month stint of being out.
Wow. At least you got your stuff back. When we shut down, when we shut down, I said, I'll shut down for like a month. I didn't see my stuff for what, 5 months, 6 months later.
Yeah, no, I made sure to like we were like just clearing out the club to try and like clear out offices and help out with some of that stuff, like the admin side of it. So we thought we'd clear out some of the stuff from the lockers that we could. But then, yeah, like when we went back in for reopening for the managers, it felt so strange being back and seeing the club. Like, I mean, it felt like only yesterday that we'd been in there, but knowing that 4 months had gone by and not a single weight had been touched, none of the change rooms had been used, hadn't been gone to the lounge, the studios hadn't been used. It just kind of felt like slightly surreal. And I think it still felt very surreal during the entirety of lockdown, knowing that I can't believe the world is at a standstill, basically. And I mean our world anyway, because in the UK, we weren't able to do any training for clients because the company had been furloughed, and as part of that, we couldn't. So all the trainers we were just kind of lost for like what to do, and staying in touch with each other, like staying in touch, doing Zoom calls together, and like WhatsApp and chats like that always helped. And you saw people doing sort of Instagram live workouts. I did a couple for a friend of mine who runs a spa concierge service.
I saw that. That was, what was it? Spa concierge service you said?
So a friend of mine runs a company with a friend of hers called Spa London.
Uh-huh.
They have a portable spa service where a therapist will come to you to do nails, manicure, pedicure, massage, etc. like that. And she started out from opening up a nail bar near in sort of Kensington area, and expanded. And she just asked me if I would do like a half an hour class on Instagram Live once, and then they invited me back, and I did a couple, and it was good fun. It was nice. It was very odd being in front of a camera when I'm so used to one-to-one.
In person, yeah.
One-to-one in-person training, and like the only sessions I had done had been with my dad in the back garden. So I did most of my lockdown at my parents' house, and with my brother-in-law and my sister. So to do that and speaking to my phone whilst it's on Instagram was a challenge at first, and then afterwards it got a little better.
Because I know Angel had done at least one live workout, right? And can you testify in saying that you obviously, like, you see yourself, but you don't know how the other people are doing or like how they're responding, like, and you can't see their form, right? Like, that's Angel. Is it kind of the same?
Yeah, I remember, I think that was when it first happened or something like that. I think me and Georgine kind of linked up. She wanted to do a program for running, and we did that together. We collaborated, and first and foremost, like, I didn't even know how to operate like IG Live or anything like that. So I was like, she was texting me. She was like, I don't know how to get you into this. And I was like, I don't know either, but you just join. For those listening, you just join, and then the person selects you or what have you. But it is odd. It is a little bit strange. It's definitely a learning curve, but you do what you can.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like that first split second, my brother-in-law was behind the camera, like looking at his phone. And I was like, you can actually physically see me say like, am I live yet?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Light flashing on my phone. I'm looking at him going, am I live yet?
Because like, I've seen people also start, like when they post their video, it's the first 5-10 seconds and being like, I think I'm live. And it doesn't allow you to cut off the 5 seconds of you figuring out, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. It's just kind of like you go live, there's a pause, and you don't really know whether it's going on or not.
That's funny. Good job, Instagram.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really set me up for that one.
So I know I've spoken to you a little bit about your career and stuff, but I want to say everyone's listening. So can you tell us a bit about your path into the fitness industry and kind of how that came about?
Well, the short version is uni, law school, finance, Equinox. The expanded version is just kind of like a very long one of those where your path towards your fitness goal will never be linear. It'll be all kinds of back and forth. My path into the industry was like that. So I went to university at Loughborough to study international relations, with like a goal of ending up in finance and investment banking, because it was all I'd ever known. I'd interned in that industry. My dad had worked in that industry for years, and it was kind of where I thought my head was going. I came out of university unsuccessful with my applications and decided to sit the rest of the year out and apply for law school. So in the UK, it's possible to do a like law conversion, so the 3-year undergraduate degree in 1 year, and then go straight into like your LPC, which would be your solicitor's course. So I did that. So basically spent 2 years at law school, got my law degree, finished my LPC, with an eye to going to more in-house legal within finance. Like I didn't think really being in a law firm, having done internships, was where I wanted to be, because the internships I'd done, it was very much like, I'm going to sit here looking at my computer, and the person who I'm junior to is going to be behind me, looking at the back of my head, just passing stuff over to me. And I was like, the intimacy and all of that, even the work, didn't really interest me. I like doing the research side of it and researching into law, and that was interesting. But like just the intimacy and the whole thing like didn't really work out for me. And I ended up in finance eventually in, when was it? July 2011. So it was a period where I was just part-timing and interning, trying to get in. Various offers had been made and then pulled out because of the financial crisis kind of kicking back again. So I ended up in the finance industry in 2011. I was there for 2.5 years. Again, kind of stagnated. Like there wasn't really a lot of business going on. It was hard to break through. Like repercussions from the financial like recession and impact on previous years had really taken its toll. So I was still training, I was still playing a lot of sport, and I just, you know what, I'm going to do my PT certifications to broaden my own knowledge. So I did that, went over a period of 18 months. I eventually left the industry in December 2013. The following January, I did my NSCA CSCS before finishing up my PT qualifications in the UK. So I went to a university testing center to do the CSCS certification. That was the January, finished up certification in March. I'd sent all my CV and letters out to basically all the gyms in London where I could get a job. I was interning in an athletic development center locally to me, basically doing 3 classes a week with kids very early morning before school, just giving them sort of basic S&C work, you know, kids 11 to 13 doing more body weight work, 13 to 15 starting to get a little bit more into some of the basic movements, but only staying training weights. And then the 16 and 17, the guys who are going to potentially be playing regional, national level sport in their age group, starting to get a bit more specific. And then the August 2014, I joined Equinox, and the rest is history.
And then was that the only club in London at the time?
Yeah.
The only Equinox club, right?
Yeah. So Kensington had opened October 2012. And I'd known about it from my time in finance. And I was like, oh, I can't believe Equinox is coming to London. So I'd kind of thought about it. So I wish I could be a member there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was nowhere near where I lived, and it was hard to get to, and a bit out of my price range as a member. But like when I threw my CV out there on a whim. Like I was just kind of like, by April, sent my CV and a cover letter. I got a phone call. I got an email from HR in June, and then I got a phone call from our PT manager whilst I was on holiday in Greece with my family. And my mom's banging on the door. We're going to dinner. I'm like, I'm doing a job interview right now.
on holiday, yeah.
So that was interesting. But then, like, yeah, as I said, August 2014, it was the only club. in London at the time. We opened St. James in 2016, like the December 2016, and that took a while. And then like we just opened Bishopsgate last December. So we're now 3 clubs in London.
Yeah,
I didn't even know a third one opened.
Yeah, it opened just in December.
I remember the first one was a big deal. When the first club opened, I think I was still because I worked at the front desk in the beginning while I was in college. And then when they opened in London, it was kind of a big deal right before I became a trainer. And there was a lot of talk about the need for trainers over there. I mean, when they first opened, especially for it being Equinox.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I'd learned by being in there that a lot of the companies, a lot of the clubs are grown from within, which is great. Like that. Okay, we give you an opportunity to relocate and help out here and start a new club, which is such a fantastic opportunity. And when I joined, I met Joe Mears, who's one of our Tier X coaches over at our St. James's club. He was actually brought over. I believe he was at Tyson's Corner. And then he came over to London to be part of the team to set up, doing all the interviews, setting up the original training team in London. And then we had we had a couple of manager come over from the US as well to set up the team. Gentry Long, who's our regional VP, obviously was GMing the club. He now oversees all of London and some of the E clubs as well. Then most of the guys who have been in the club there's a few who are from the original training team still.
Still.
Since.
And I know there's a couple of guys that I want to feel like we had a regional manager at one point who overlooked like 3 clubs in Upper West Side and then the South Kensington club, right? Right?
Yeah, so London used to be part of the New York region.
Yeah, the East
was because I know they've got so many clubs in New York now. It used to be like New York broken up into separate bits, and then London was attached to one of those.
Yeah,
they opened up St. James. They rejigged the regions, and we got attached to Boston.
Oh, really? So you're still attached to the Boston?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would have thought London would have its own region, right? If you have a regional manager that just lives London based, and that'd be that. But
yeah, no, I mean, we do. I mean, we have like a London region, like within ourselves, but I think we're to keep us attached to HQ and intact with what's going on in the US. We're part of a smaller group as well.
Got it. Oh, they have their ways.
Yeah.
I did want to pivot towards what your adjustment. Again, we mentioned how you did like some live workouts on Instagram. Like, what was your adaptation, if you will, to the lockdown, right? Like, how did your business look? Like, what were things you did differently? Like, I know I follow you on social media, so I kind of saw some of the habits, but if you can tell us, our listeners, like, what were some really key things for you to keeping habits and to keep pushing through that lockdown?
Well, I mean, I have to admit, I was very fortunate with my lockdown. I was able to relocate to my parents' house, which is outside of London, where they have a pretty decent sized back garden. I had plenty of space. My brother-in-law, my sister, and my nephew were there. My nephew's now about to turn 1, so I spent a lot of time with him where I hadn't seen him a lot before because of work commitments, and I was able to really reconnect and reestablish my roots with my family and spend most time I've been at home since I graduated university. God knows how many years ago. But I did self-isolate the first 3 weeks after being in the gym and knowing that some of the trainers had fallen sick. So I didn't want to run the risk of potentially taking that back home to my parents and my family. So I did the first 3 weeks in my flat in London, of which the first 10 days I was actually so paranoid I didn't leave my flat.
Wow.
I did a big food shop, everything I needed, household necessities and things like that, food that I needed, and then because I'm up on the 4th floor, I was literally just using the stairwell for cardio, and I had a couple of bits of gym equipment, a heavy kettlebell. I bought a set of parallettes and a pair of dumbbells and my bands. That was it for me for the first 3 weeks, training in my living room. And I'd eventually decided, okay, I'm going to go out, get up really early, build a routine around getting up early, going for early morning walks, come back, shower, coffee. We were still working at the time, so I was then on morning phone calls with Rob McCabe, who's one of our other TRX managers, and our regional Justin Jacobs, and just kind of talking about business and how we were trying to make sure that we were still staying in touch with clients, doing virtual stuff, trying to push the virtual platform and switch everyone over to that process. So having that routine in the morning really helped me sort of stay in touch with some kind of normality and take my focus off of I'm stuck inside my flat and I can't go anywhere. Then eventually we got furloughed and we had to stop working. So I put my efforts into learning Spanish for the first couple of weeks. But then as soon as I moved back to my parents' house, that stopped because it then went into PTing my nephew and trying to help him learn to crawl and walk. We didn't get to walking, unfortunately, but he did.
How old is your nephew?
He turns 1 next Saturday.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if you were talking bear crawling or like.
I mean, I'm just trying to get him to move on hands and knees. At the
Gotcha.
But I mean, he just loved to roll over. And I was like, okay, I'll take that for the time. But he did get to, like, standing up and holding onto the side. And like we had this old wagon that I used to have as a kid. My grandparents bought for me, and my mum refurnished it, and he was pushing it around and putting it in. And
that's hilarious.
That became my PT for the next 3 months.
Like coaching to walk. That's pretty. That's an interesting client to have, right? Like you never had a client like that before.
Oh yeah, I mean, you watch how like older clients. It's funny how we always think about the human cycle. You start out as a kid, you learn to walk, you learn to crawl, walk. We get to running, we get to developing. We have full mobility. Life takes over. We're sat down, and then as we age, we start to regress back mentally and physically, unless we stay on top of training.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So it's very interesting then when you can compare like the development and the regression in exactly the same. You can see it at both ends of the scale, and then being able to like watch him do things and explain it to my sister, like what's happening here and why he's doing that and what his progression, what his typical progression should be. But he is anything but typical. He is very much.
He's atypical. Throwing spanners in the works. Because I think like you touched a really good point on the mobility, which is something that I commonly use in reference to with clients when they talk about, oh, I used to be mobile or I used to have more flexibility. I want to get it back. And like talking like you just mentioned also with life happens, right? And sitting down more often and your body takes shape of the patterns or like postures you typically sit in or stand in most of the day. And then I always reference, like you said, like a young infant, right? Like they got the best deep squat, right? They have that hip mobility. They just sit there and and it's not like a stretch for them. It's like they can just hang out there, right? So I'm sure you were seeing those kind of patterns as well.
Oh, massively. Like I was just see there, like he sat down, legs out in front of him, sat bolt upright, supporting himself. And then he would just reach forward and grab something in front of his feet. And I'm like, I'm sure at one point my hamstrings were that long. Like
at one point,
my joints could do that.
Yeah.
And it's bad to think that they're not. But like speaking on the mobility, like I know so many people who then took on, and like majority of them were all trainers who then took on like, right, I've got all this time to focus on training and doing all the things I need. The mobility part and the stretching for me came a lot later in lockdown. The thing that I really nailed was like a sleep routine, and my nutrition stayed the same. I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my mum. Like you probably seen from Instagram, I love cooking anyway.
Yeah, you put some nice dishes on there. And maybe I mean, if it wasn't such a big distance, I'd ask you to send them over, but
be surprised how often that happens.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my mum, and she decided to set up a vegetable patch in our back garden. So she was doing that every day, and we'd all help with picking stuff, and she'd cook like vegetables from there for what we would have. And so that really helped me kind of stay honest with my nutrition. And then because our routine was based around my nephew in that he gets up at a certain time, he has breakfast, he has his milk, he has a nap. Cool. When he has his morning nap, my dad and I would take him for a walk, come back, I can do my work, I can train. He wakes up, lunchtime for him, he has his milk, lunchtime for us. So it really became very easy to have this daily cycle. And then even when he naps in the afternoon, we all kind of relax and chill out. And then he wakes up again, and that's when it's time for his afternoon PT session. And like it was very easy on that front. So like I said, I was very fortunate with my lockdown experience. But even then, like as supported as I was and surrounded by my family and people that I love and love me, I'm human at the end of the day, and I'm still an individual, and I still had my ups and downs, some pretty rough downs at the start, and this slow, steady increase, come back down, go up a little bit higher, come down. And like towards the end, I just couldn't shake the feeling that life had been put on hold. And that was the thing that was really just sort of kept holding me back. And I was just like, I did a load of self-work on like mindset, coaching, and generally like looking in with a lot of self-reflection. I was like, right, I've done all this work. I want to put it to the test. And real life is going to be that test. When we reopen the clubs, we get back in, I'm working with my teams, I'm working with my clients. And it just, up until like mid-July, it seemed like that light was never going to come. You know, you're never going to reach it. And you're just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm going to have to start thinking elsewhere here, you know?
Yeah, that's like some of the conversations when we first started this podcast. Like, we actually initially started this podcast because gyms had closed and we had way more time in our hands, right? And that's a topic that comes in probably a little less frequently because we've understood that like it's just when it'll happen. Well, at least that's some of the mindsets we try and talk about, because I think they just only opened the clubs here in New York City September the 2nd, and they were going to open them in the state at the end of August, but they're like, oh, New York City, wait one more week. So, you know, like it's just been, we've had similar thoughts, like, all right, what are other things that we can keep ourselves busy with? So like we totally resonate with that as well. Like it's been, and again, being in the same company, like it is like, and all I'll say is that I was like super jealous. Like, fuck, man, London have already opened, and like they're like getting back to it, and you know. But I mean, it's every country's like got his own scenario. But
what you mean? Like I'd spoken to like not just you. I'd like to speak. I'm obviously speak with other trainers in the US from via Instagram, and it's just kind of like they're like, oh, how is it? What is it? Like I remember my first work like in the reopening week, so all the managers were in and we're trying to prep the club and get used to the new systems. Like I didn't touch a weight in the gym. I didn't do a workout at all. It was just super busy. It wasn't until I had that first workout back and I remember posting something on Instagram and it was just kind of like flooded with like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so jealous. And I was like, yeah, like it feels so good, but it's very humbling to like be back and know that what 4 months out of that environment can do to you.
Huge.
Like
it's huge.
I had by the end of lockdown, I'd accumulated a pair of parallettes, heavy kettlebell, a pair of like 35-pound dumbbells, a pair of 70-pound dumbbells, and a pair of what is probably around 93-pound dumbbells. And like having just that for 4 months, I mean, all my conditioning was pretty good, but like the ability to handle heavy load, just gone. Like, it's come back relatively quickly, like thanks to the muscle memory. But when you first put a bar in your hands or on your back, it like as good as it feels, the next day you pay for it.
Humbling, right?
Yeah, it's very humbling.
Oh man.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten my first workout in at the gym, but I think that's gonna happen next week. We'll see what that feels like.
Oof, enjoy it. Like I know how much. Like it's one of those things where you feel like actually I should savor this moment.
Yeah.
First time being back in the gym again. I'm gonna treat this like I'm gonna treat it
Christmas.
Yeah. Right.
Like I'm a new trainer. I've never been before.
I remember that,
especially with a mask on. It's so fucking tough.
Oh, it's a whole other thing with a mask on. Yeah.
Are you guys supposed to wear masks all the time?
So at the moment we are. As soon as you come into the building, mask on, temperature check. When you are around the club, mask on. when you're actually exercising and you're obviously pretty intense exercise, you can pull the mask down, take it off. But when you are resting between sets, like once you're past that point of that initial recovery where you can actually breathe again, mask goes back on. When you're moving from equipment to equipment, mask goes on. When you're leaving the gym floor to go to the change room, mask goes on. When you're in the lounge, mask goes on. Like basically, if you're not exercising, mask has to be on.
I think that was the original plan for us. And then shit went down in California.
Yeah.
Because they opened up before we did.
Well, and then in Georgia and there's the clubs in Florida never closed either. They've stayed open this whole time.
Yeah. And now it's like you just got to wear a mask all the time. You know, and I have a client of mine doing ball slams and doing sprints on the tread. I'm like, all right, dude, sorry. You know, like, and there are things that you have to scale back, and it kind of sucks, you know?
I put my client on the air dime doing intervals with a mask on. I was like, you want to do it? You want to be back in the gym? Let's go. I think one of the managers was like, damn, you're going to strengthen his lungs.
What's wrong with you?
He was like, first day back. I was like,
we're done.
First day back. All right, we're going to finish on the bike. And he was like,
Okay.
Got him.
Crazy.
Leslie, what kind of masks are you guys using?
So they've those like the I don't say surgical, but the blue mask. So yeah,
this one up.
Use that one.
Drama.
I mean, the club has given out the blue surgical ones.
Yeah, that's what
They're horrible for sweating.
Yeah, they just absorb the sweat. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought, like when I travel so when I use the subway, like I'll wear a cloth mask. Like I've got one, and it's got a pocket where I can put filters in, and like that's fine. Wow. But the first 4 weeks, maybe 5, I actually went through 3 different types of training masks. One was originally just a cyclist mask that people would wear whilst they're cycling on the outside, and like it didn't really hold up to the heavy duty sweat that you would get from like an air dyeing session or squat session. Then I invested in something else. It did again fall apart, but then I bought one of the actual altitude training masks, and I wore that for the last 3 weeks, where I've been wearing a mask whilst I train. I kid you not, any kind of intervals on the assault bike or air dyeing on that will have you breathing very hard. Like,
you're gonna post a video of it now. We want to see
I tried warming up with the 500 meters on the erg, and I thought I was gonna die. I had the mask on. I was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" It was so hard. It was so tough.
I mean, there were points where I had the training mask on, and at least like the great thing about it is it's got the filters in, and it's like the plastic mask you would wear for like a VO2 max test. So it doesn't suck in. Like when you breathe in, you don't suddenly get choked out by material. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay at like a certain pace. I'm gonna nasal breathe. Like we'll see how this goes. That like every time like you breathe, you'd be breathing so hard. I'd breathe my nostrils shut. I was just like.
I wonder what kind of physiological adaptations we're gonna have from this.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Like, before lockdown, I didn't believe, and I still don't believe in like those altitude training masks replicating the training that you would do at altitude. But what they will do is, I think, strengthen your respiratory muscles. So like scalenes, all those upper respiratory muscles, especially your diaphragm as well, and then improve your breathing like economy.
Yeah.
I think it'll give you an opportunity to work on that stuff, which then has a knock-on effect to how you breathe outside of that stress state.
I'm hoping they breathe correctly to begin with.
Yeah, I mean that's the first lesson.
I mean, if someone's always like, then like, yeah, sure, we'll strengthen all this shit up, but then you're just gonna. Yeah. It's always like a hit or miss.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. I think like I'm sure you guys know who Jay Shetty is. Like I bought his book, and I'm reading the first chapter, and he talks about his first day at an ashram in India, where he changed to become a monk. And he walks past his class. There's a 10-year-old teaching 5-year-olds, and he goes, "Oh, what are you teaching?" He's like, "I'm teaching you how to breathe." And their philosophy on it was like, it's the first thing you do when you're born, and it's the only thing that sticks with you throughout your life until the last day on this earth is your breath. So you should learn how to breathe properly, how to connect with it, how to harness it, and how to use it right up until you die, because that is the only thing. Like, you may change country, you may change job, people will come and go from your life, but your breath will always be with you. And it's amazing how, like with all the research that's been done in breath work and things like, I think it's Brian McKenzie coming out with, and various things, Patrick McEwing as well, coming out with the oxygen advantage and various books on breathing techniques, diaphragmatic breathing, which we've always done, box breathing from Navy SEALs, like how important being able to breathe properly is. Oh, and look, we're in the middle of a pandemic, which leaves scar tissue on your lungs and affects your ability to breathe for the rest of your life, potentially.
Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure out like what happens after, like
after
effects.
When I was sick, so far, I think I'm okay. My lungs, I think, are okay for now. But I remember when I was sick in the beginning and I was getting better, I went to get the mail. And I took the stairs. I was fine going down at 5 flights of stairs. Got the mail, came back up, 3rd flight of stairs, started coughing. I could not stop coughing for 10 minutes. It was just, it was the worst. I don't think I've ever had a coughing fit that bad, ever. So who knows? Who knows, depending on the research.
Yeah, I can only imagine. One of my clients, she was my first client back. She's an American, she's from Kansas, but she ended up catching it and it nearly killed her twice.
Whoa.
Wow.
We got put onto the high risk category and her doctor came to her. She ended up having, she's got quite a tall townhouse and it's over 3 or 4 floors. It really knocked her for 6 weeks. She was at home, unable to really do anything. She was still working crazy hours based on US time schedules. And she ended up with an oxygen tank on every floor of her house.
Wow.
And she still has the nebulizer, which she uses every now and then. But when she told me that story and how it developed straight into pneumonia both times and nearly killed her twice,
that's
I was
so scary. Fuck.
My dad had pneumonia. He had a little slight pneumonia. It was tough.
Yeah, when you hear stories like that, you kind of think okay,
this isn't a joke. Yeah, this is serious.
And my auntie, my auntie had it, and her and my uncle were having to live on separate floors of their house. He would anti-vac everything, using everything he could to clean upstairs and downstairs, but he would live upstairs and she stayed downstairs. Eventually they had to take her into hospital and they sent her home because they figured that her recovery would actually be quicker at home, which it was. And touch wood, thank God she's now recovered. But when you hear stories and you live through it, it's just kind of I really wish people would take this seriously.
Agreed. Yeah.
Quick question. In terms of, since we're on the topic of masks, how has the sort of the reaction to mask wearing and people not wanting to wear masks because of X, Y, and Z? How has that been in London? I mean, in New York, I think the majority of people in New York have been very good about the masks, but you always have the ones that's here and there that are like, fuck you, I'm not wearing this,
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. The majority of people understand it's something they just have to do. If you want to be able to come in and use the gym, you want to be able to go into shops, you want to be able to, travel anywhere in London, on the tube or the bus, you need to wear a mask. It's one of those things now, I think we've all probably seen the memes where you used to leave the house and it used to be keys, phone, wallet, good. Now it's
PKWF. There you
go. Yeah. But it's just okay, now I've got my face mask as well. And it's there are still every now and then people are just I'm not going to bother wearing it. Why should I have to? And it's because it's to protect others. We're doing this for you. You should wear one for us. And as it reduces your likelihood of getting it as well.
It's common courtesy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, you wear it, at least, when I wear it, it's, to make the other person feel comfortable and safe, regardless of what the hell the mask does. I mean, that's a whole nother topic that you get into, but it's
the respect of exactly. I respect your life and I'm going to make you feel at ease. And
100%. That's where you think I think of all the conversations I've had with my dad during lockdown and reflecting on where we're at now and just thinking like, you know what I really hope comes out of this is that people figure out what's really important, and knowing that another human's life is just as important as their own, and not worrying about material objects and focusing on what is, you know, what is truly important and the essence of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
I wanted to change topics a little bit because we kind of like brushed over it a little bit. Obviously this time has given us some time to reflect. And I've seen some of your writing on coachjcd.com.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yep.
That's a shameless plug. But I've seen some of your writing. Yeah. I've seen some of your writing, and I really like how you divided up, or you spoke about like principles of training, and then you decided to do a series on it, like highlighting one quality of a principle or one principle of training, and then doing another one and another one. And I really like the idea, and I really love the writing that you've done so far. Kind of there's like selfish reasons, but I want to know like what's your process like for brainstorming ideas for blog posts?
Interesting, because like, so part of like, I'm the TRX manager at Kensington, but I'm also an EFTI master instructor, and I also teach the nutrition on the TRX curriculum as well. So like, the theory on writing was an opportunity to me to share knowledge and sort of maintain that teacher's hat, that facilitator's hat on, so I don't lose that stuff. And then I just started my website through lockdown and started writing. And when it came to it, I was like, well, let's start from square one. Like, what are the things that people need to know? What information do I want to put out there? And I had my sister and my brother-in-law, who are both, 30 years old, and just want to be like, hey, what would you guys like to read? I'm thinking about just putting out the basic information. Like, I'm going to split it up into 3 categories. On my website, it says mind, body, and soul, and that mind would be like the mental health, emotional health, understanding growth mindset, fixed mindset, those kinds of things. And then like understanding things like trusting the process and setting goals and stuff like that. Body is obviously training. It came down to, obviously I know like that age old question, oh, what's better for dropping body fat? Cardio or weights? And I don't want to do weights for getting too bulky. And so I was like, right, well, first of all, we need to clear up that argument. Like, weights and cardio depends on your goals, depends what you're after, and then dive into some more of the other training stuff. But like, I'm sure you guys come across people all the time you see in the gym, and you ask them about their program, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm just doing chest day, or it's legs. And like, okay, so what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm doing bench press, and I'm doing some cable flies. I'll do some shoulder
Friday,
press.
get that chest pump.
Yeah.
Monday,
Monday's International Chest Day,
Monday,
isn't it?
International
Monday?
Chest Day. Friday, got your arms for the girls.
Yeah.
That's
like,
typical stuff.
So, yeah, like, so, okay, so tell me, where do you get your program from? How do you write this? And like, oh, just stuff I see on
Instagram.
Like, cool. Do you understand, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, do you understand why that's being done? Do you understand the movement? Do you understand what you're trying to do? Like, so, you know what? I'm going to write a series on principles of training. If you understand these principles, you can use whatever method you like. Because, and that's something that goes across the whole landscape of what we do. If you understand principles of training, principles of nutrition, principles of recovery, you can use whatever method you like. You just got to understand like the main foundations of this stuff. And that's really what I wanted to do with it all. And then soul was nutrition, and thinking, well, first of all, first question you got to be is like, what's a healthy diet? You just answer that question, because you get it all the time. Oh, what are healthy foods? What food should I be eating for this? Is that a good food? I'm like, cool. I'm just going to tell you what a healthy diet is first, and then we can break down everything else from there. And I'm very fortunate that I work with a few people who are a lot more creative than me, and I run ideas past them, and they will say, why have you been writing about this stuff before? And I'm like, okay, like that sounds like a good idea then. And I'm very fortunate. I've got a close group of friends who I can bounce ideas off of. and kind of talk about that stuff. And I don't know if you saw during lockdown as well, I have a very good friend of mine. She's a trainer at Kensington as well. She started her website and she started doing Zoom calls with me. And then she posted them onto her Instagram as IGTVs. And these turned out to be like 2-hour conversations about life in lockdown from a coach's point of view, as well as like a human point of view. And we did a huge one on like trusting the process. And so like, I know that's like a whole background to another series that I could do. And so it's just kind of really, at the end of it, I want to make the basics available to everyone, and then everyone can become their own coach eventually, with having reference points and making it easy, like bridging that gap between like, okay, this is just for trainers to develop themselves, and I'm putting this out there for general pop so they can understand like what training is all about. And so somewhere in the middle, that it provides new information for trainers with some references and studies, but enough like easy language for general population to understand it and see some evidence that backs it up.
Yeah,
because I mean, speaking on, sorry, Angel, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, just touching on that, like, that sounds like a good process, and it sounds like part of it is having the people around you to kind of like bounce ideas off of. And for me, it's been like kind of hard to kind of take your brain and just say, all right, what are things that people need clarification on, or what are things that people don't understand? But what your process sounds like, it sounds like you're doing it in the right way, right? Because even that, like some people say, oh, you'll give away all the training secrets and then they won't need coaches anymore. And it's like, no, they still need coaches, but at least you're having different, more impactful conversations, right? As opposed to saying like, what's a good diet, or what's a healthy diet or something like that. It's like, all right, well, what does diet mean to you? Like now you can have a better dialogue, which is probably better for the industry on a greater scale, right? Like not only just for coaches, but for general population and everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll always say that the clients that we have the most success with are those that are open to learning. Mm-hmm. And again, success comes quicker to the more open you are to learning and the quicker you pick certain things up. So if we can break down that first barrier and empower everyone with a good degree of base knowledge that they can come into the gym with and say, cool, I know I need to do X, Y, and Z to have a good workout. A good workout doesn't necessarily mean crawling out of here, sweating, puking my guts out. Like I don't have to question myself, but did I die? To come out there to have a good workout, and principles of carrying it at home. Like what can I do? If you can break down that first barrier, like you said, you have more impactful conversations with clients, with general population, with people, to be able to say like, okay, like you've got a good base knowledge. I'm going to drop this idea here, leave you to think about it. What do you think? Give me your thoughts, and we can go from there. And it leads for more empowered clients. Mm-hmm. Your relationship is a lot better with them because you're able to have better conversations.
That's true. How's what's one of the ways you would say it's easy for you to sort of weed out a lot of the misinformation that is given out there, especially on social media, especially on these magazines that are of course trying to make money by selling things that are very geared towards instant gratification? What's something that you do in terms to try to get people to know what is legit rather than the crap out there?
You have to I think it's still hard to break through that. I think that's always going to be there. I think sometimes you've just got to trust your gut and keep going. There was a time like long ago where you used to see that stuff, and it used to get me so angry. Like I used to think like that is dangerous information. How can you put that out there? Like I never got to the point where I was like trolling people and being like calling people out. It was just like, because I know my clients are going to come to me, but by the way, I see this, and what do you think? And I just be like, okay, what do you think?
Yeah.
Can't troll them. At least not. They shouldn't.
Yeah, like I mean, first, like when I first started, I'd be like, "Well, I think," rattle off stuff and like let off steam. And as I got into this process, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter what I think. What do you think?
Because, and then also, I'm sorry, I didn't want to clear off.
Go. Because it doesn't. Because really, all that matters is what's the client thinking. Because I can give them my opinion. They've already formulated in their head what they want to take away from that article or from what that Instagram post is. All they've got stuck in their head is the picture of that fitness model with a 6-pack abs or a break bar, and it's just like, and they're like, I want that. So I can give you my, Harvard education answer and be like, well, actually this and this are wrong, and they'll just bounce back. It's just going to go in one ear, out the other.
Yeah. Well, because the other thing was, there's two things I kind of want to piggyback off that. One, when you said like that picture of 6-pack of abs, I think sometimes one is understanding the reality of, we can totally get you there. You might just be absolutely miserable on the whole thing. Like you will it's pretty life changing, right? For some people to get to that goal, it's not impossible. It just, when you realize what that kind of work looks like we mentioned, like David mentioned, like magazines or something where like Men's Health can tell you everything Chris Hemsworth did for the Thor films, right? It can tell you all the like exercises, but it doesn't tell you the amount of calories specifically each meal. It doesn't tell exactly the number of like how much sleep. There's so many details. And then also we may have mentioned in previous episodes where like genetics plays so much of a role in how your body adapts to something. So like just because I've given you the blueprint for how he did it does not mean it's going to be the set. It's a great seller for a magazine, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm totally going to buy this. It's the Thor workout. But that also in line with when like if a client has the idea of like they like this workout, well, like there's nothing. I personally, I took a long time in this frame of thought to not be like, well, that's dumb, right? Because I was a little bit at the beginning, right? And I probably told David some sort of like, I still am a little bit, right? But not still do that. More open about it. I'm like, this dumb, whatever. But like,
I mean, I take longer. I'm like, well, that's kind of stupid.
No rep. Like, when someone's in a core rep, no rep.
Done. No rep.
No, but like, I think, but like what you're saying as well, like I think we can all testify that we've had the scenarios of our client when they talk us about an exercise or a post or a study or whatever it is, and like you said, like one, what do you think, and then also that may well be very effective, but depending on what their ultimate end goal is, right? So like, what's the point in you doing sprints if all you want is 6-pack of abs, right? Like that might not be specific. Whereas like, oh no, I actually want to improve my 40-yard dash, or like I'm going to be doing the NFL combine, right? Like, okay, so sprinting is a specific attention to detail that needs to be worked on, right? That's appropriate for the NFL draft, right? So, or the combine, sorry. So that like, it just has to do, I think, with, yeah, we can do that crazy thing on the gymnastics rings, but you already told me you have a bummed up shoulder and you don't want to do anything that's going to like worsen it or like affect it. So like, we can try, but based on what you've told me, I don't know if that's the right path. This is about the specifics of like what it, not that it's not pointless in doing those exercises or things, but like, well, what do you want to get out of it? And then where you want to go with it? You know, like if they understand that, because I'm sure you said conversations when you ask someone about a program, why are you doing it? I don't know, because I've always done it, right? Chest, everyone's always, and guilty of it too, I've always started chest with bench press, barbell. Probably like 90% of my chest workouts have started with the barbell, if it's there, you know? That's just almost like the norm, right? No one ever finishes on a barbell bench press. Who finishes on? Not really, right? Normally with dumbbells, because you can just, so like, just like things like that.
Totally. I mean, what is it like, do you need to have a huge back squat to build decent legs?
Right.
No. Do I back squat every session? Yes, because I enjoy it. And I want to have a huge back squat. It's not because like I think it's going to be the only thing for me to build big legs.
Yeah.
It's a great way, but there are multiple squat exercises that mimic the same pattern that you can do if you want. You know,
no right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It just depends on where on the spectrum you want to be.
Also, like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
I was just gonna say, like, a less seasoned version of myself, like I would run into those situations when you're with a client and they're doing back squats and they're like, this kind of hurts my back or this hurts my neck or whatever. And you're just like, just throw a pad on it, or you wrap a towel around it.
Suck it
like,
up.
It's still not comfortable. And then like, you go through the reps or whatever. But like more seasoned, you're just like, well, why did I program for her or him, right? Like, why does that client need to do a back squat, like a posteriorly loaded back, squat? Can they do a suitcase carry squat? Can they do a goblet squat? And just starting to think in that way. Same thing with like kettlebells. You know, every trainer gets their kettlebell certification, and all of a sudden they want everybody to do like snatch complexes and all that stuff. And then you get the
figure
clients
eights,
just
figure eights,
get-ups around the back,
everything.
no look.
Yep.
But yeah, that I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean, also when you think of it, I mean, a lot of I like to, with my clients at least, I like to get them all to do a back squat. But I mean, a lot of them are older too, you know, and that's something that they don't. Some of them don't even know what the hell they want to do, you know.
That's part of the issue, yeah.
And at least for me, when they tell me like, "Hey, I want to get stronger. I can't do this. I can't do that." I'm like, "Okay, well, you are, you know, an older person, and especially if you're a female, you know, bone density is a big issue, and just getting you stronger, all in all, is a big benefit." And I think giving them the options, like you said, give them the idea or give them something like, "Hey, what do you think about this? Is this something you're open to?" And if they're open to, then we're game. You know, I'm going to get you from point A to point B, and this is how we're going to get there. Are you down with this? No, then we'll try something else. But like Angel said, you have everyone that just, you know, gets their cert and then just goes crazy. Especially whenever there's a Viper class on the weekend. I'm like, Monday, Tuesday, that's over.
Everyone's got the Vipers out.
We can't even use a Viper.
None left.
Oh God. Those things, like there's a group of like trainers in London that are very pro Viper. Then there's like people who are very anti Viper, and like it's very interesting. That's a very interesting topic of conversation in London. But like I totally get it. Like I think one thing that has really happened, like, so I've been in the industry 6 years, of which all of it has been at Equinox. And I think one of the things that's really changed for me is my definition of strength.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say, like, you know, I've got a lot of older clients now. Now I'm in as a TRX coach, and it's just like, what is strong? Like, do they need to have a huge back squat? Do they need to be able to deadlift whatever? I mean, in fact, the only lift I would want you to be good at is some kind of deadlift, picking something up off the floor. And we just work in your range. But like, what is your definition of strength? If your definition of strength is what's your squat, bench, and deadlift numbers, then you will only ever have a very one-dimensional focus. Like, what is your strength like in odd positions? What is your strength in those compound lifts? What is your strength like with odd objects? Like, I've started to really think about having a more rounded strength game, more like strongman style. Mm-hmm. Obviously, our clubs aren't kitted out for strongman training, but doesn't mean that you can't include certain principles. Doesn't mean I can't set up a squat rack with the safety bar and pretend I've got a yoke. Doesn't mean I can't pretend that, you know, I can set up a landmine as a deadlift and have you pretend to deadlift a car. Like, it's, what is your definition of strength?
Yeah.
And how do you want to apply it to real life?
I'm sorry, I keep going off. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, because like, I know for me, like, I don't train for a sport. I don't train for anything else. It is personally, for me, mentally and physically. But then I know that I don't want my parents to be doing any heavy lifting anymore. I don't want to be there when my sister says, "Can you help me move this?" And I have to turn around and be like, "Sorry, I can't. It's just too heavy for me." Part of me is like, I want to be able to help you. I want to be able to help my parents do various things so that my dad doesn't have to run the risk of hurting his back and things like that. So it's part of, like, for me mentally, but also for my family to be able to help them.
That's kind of where I was going to piggyback off yours, and then David kind of point earlier about like what does strong look like to them as well, right? Because
totally.
Right, like you exactly what you just mentioned, right? If we talk about like our parents or grandparents or just any relatives that may be a little bit older than us, like, strong to them might just mean no difficulty getting from a seated to standing position, right? That might be, if you can do that and not have pain in your knees and like no valgus and like feel like it's not a pain in the ass to do, that might be the definition of strength. Like, I have a client where we've worked on mimicking the pattern of putting the dog bowl down for dogs to eat food. That we've actually mimicked that, right? And like, sounds a little odd, sounds like not very gym-like to some clients or some people, but like, if that makes the movement pattern that she does every single day means she doesn't have pain. For her, that's her value of strength, right? Like that's where she's like, if the coach or the trainer can take her movement where it is and then cue and guide her to doing patterns in everyday life that she's no longer in pain, that's their definition of strength, right? Or that's what's kind of what strength looks like for them, right? And it's all different to different people. But I think it's very important, like you mentioned, like if you ask them about their program, like that can also be where the stagnation is in their progress, right? Well, like if you don't have, it's like just general goal setting, even for career, I think, right? Like if you don't know, if you don't have an idea of where you want to be in 5-10 years from now, or at least to kind of think about it, like, well, how is where you at right now? Is that leading towards it? Like, and not everything is clear cut like that, but I think it's good for programming and for strength, you know, like, and that's why, like, I've definitely had scenarios of clients who told me like, oh, I did this my day for working out. And I was like, I don't think that's bad, but what's the reasoning behind it? And sometimes it's been, and there's nothing wrong with it, like, because it feels good. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes I've been in a scenario where, like, I don't know, just cause. Like, or was there, like, you know, so it's eye-opening.
Yeah, I really get it. I was like, touching on the goal setting, and I'm going to shamelessly plug my own website now. I wrote an article that I posted this week about growth should be the goal, right? We've done all this as trainers. Like, we try to step people away from outcome-based goals. So, like, I want to have X% body fat. I want to have X amount of muscle. I want to build this bench. And it's like, okay, so what do you need to do to get there? What does your plan look like? And that's where we come in as coaches and trainers, and we will help them build this plan, and we will show them how it's done. And, you know, we can really do that with our clients. But when you come across those people on the gym floor and you're talking to them, and it's like, well, what's your program like? Okay, how are your goals going? Well, I've been doing the same program for about 6 months, and I haven't really seen much change in the last 3 to 4. And it's like,
shocker.
Okay. Yeah, like, whereas, like, what other processes apart from turning up to the gym 5 days a week, doing your bro split, doing your 4x8, 3x15, etc., are you doing that is going to change? And unless you're willing to open up your mind and switch to a growth mindset to accept new ideas, you will always stay there. You'll always stagnate.
Right. It's having that conversation isn't always the easiest, but I think it's like anything in life, right? It's like with eating as well. I'm sure you can testify to this as well, where, like, when you have the conversation, I think it's so eye-opening when, like, and this is part of, like, learning to be a trainer. Like you said, being in the industry for 6 years, I think we've all kind of got a similar time frame as well. But I'll never forget, at least with, like, some of the clients who work in, like, Midtown Manhattan, like, when they tell you what they have for lunch, standard is a protein, some grain, and some vegetables, and that's it. And you're like, all right, man, this guy eats pretty good lunch, you know. Supposedly he has a good breakfast, and dinner, he says, oh, sometimes I might have a drink with clients, which actually means I might have a bottle or two with clients, right? It's kind of what it looks like. But then what that lunch, and here's the thing as well, is like, someone can describe at McDonald's as this, right? I had chicken with lettuce, a bit of bread, and some potatoes, right? They've just described a chicken sandwich and fries. And like, I've had scenarios where a client will say, yeah, I had this for lunch. And I'm like, there's no fucking way.
If a client comes at me with that shit, I'll be like,
there's no fucking way. I'm sorry. Right. What else?
I was going to say, like, it's also okay. Like, I feel like there's a lot of, like, shaming, and there's a lot of guilt.
It's not wrong. Like, I know, but
yeah, Jacques, what's wrong with you, bro?
It's the accountability, though. It's the accountability, right? So if you're saying that we're doing all the work here in the gym and it's well, and we're not going the direction you want to be going, and it's not shaming or blaming, but, like, you're just trying to like, see the whole picture, right? And you're just trying to, like, get every piece of information to know, like, oh, like, is it my programming that's a little off? Like, and again, I don't have that approach in training, but, like, fuck did you eat today? You know, like, it's not that. It's more like, let's talk a bit about how it was, and, like, you know, what would you have done different? Like, so they can be accountable themselves. So I definitely don't want to make it sound like a shame, because that's not a good way of doing it. But Angel, you were kind of,
let me eat my chicken sandwich in peace, Jacques. Like,
and you know what? And in the equal fits, I'll let Angel jump on off this. Like, at one point, I don't know if this maybe affected my conversions. It may have. But at one point, equal fits for maybe like about a year, I told him, I was like, you know what? I love Oreos. I have Oreos like at least once a week. I love pizza. I have it at least once a week, right? But it was to the point where like I have it, but I know to have it in a decent quantity, right? So I know to be okay, I'll have it just once a week, or that's my designated day of like just going crazy with like cheat foods or whatever. But then Monday is reset. So, right, and just again, there's no shame, and I think it's a good thing. And we've already spoken about the topic of like more of a journey as opposed to like a set 6-week kind of time frame. If you think of it as a journey, like you're gonna have hiccups, that's totally doable, right? And we had like, I mean, David, we went out for your birthday, right? I've never had so much fried chicken in so long.
That was a lot.
And I felt, and you know what? And I was like, I'm not having any more fried chicken for. Guess what I had the next day? Fucking fried chicken again. You know what? Totally on me, but I like, fuck, I can't. That's like fried chicken twice in the last like 18 hours. I haven't done that.
My stomach didn't like all that fried chicken the next day.
Me neither.
It was horrible.
Oof.
Oh my God. Yeah. Anyway.
Moving on.
No. So one last question for me, at least. I want to respect your time. I know it's late over there, but what right now that gyms are opened again? What's your current training program? What are you doing?
So before I kind of bounced around a lot of programs, a lot of it was all my own. Like I still write my own program, and I bounced off a few ideas. Did a little bit of conjugate, a lot of juggernaut, a lot of bro stuff, tried a little bit of CrossFit here and there. And then but I always trained like thinking, right, I've got to just do as much volume as I can to get like a decent workout, because my background from when I was a kid was rowing and swimming before going on to play rugby. And so like my endurance and like the amount of training volume I was doing there was insane anyway. But I've always kind of stuck on that. But then coming out of lockdown, I was like, no, I'm going to tackle this the way I would for a client. I'm going to rewrite this and go a different route. And at the end of the year last year in November, I did Dr. John Russin's PPSC course when they came to London with Equinox. So I did it with all the guys in there, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start applying some of these principles. And so I was kind of loosely following a PPSC or a conjugate style program. But now that I'm back and I've rewritten and I'm like, cool, I'm going to build a program based off of like the West Side conjugate style with some PPSC stuff thrown in there. Looking at my mobility and thinking about like, how do I change these variations rather than just going from the standard like competition squat, box squats, things like that. How do I vary this stuff and start to bring in more band work? So like my current program at the moment is still and I've kind of since 2018, I've probably run the same sort of week where it's like 4 days lifting, 2 conditioning days, and 1 complete rest day. And on the conditioning days, it's mainly just like I'm going to do low intensity, steady state stuff just to help with recovery and keep my base capacity there. So like, as I don't want it to impact my lifting was always my main thing. And I wanted to build my squat and my deadlift and be strong. So then when I thought about it coming back, I was like, well, you know what? I think I've like struggled over the last little bit to like put on loads of muscle. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm just not committing to this the right way. But at the same time, every time I try to do that, I end up gaining a load of unnecessary body fat and I don't move very well. I don't feel great. I always ache. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to focus on some kind of athletic performance, some kind of like strength and power, and build some sort of dynamic ability here. So at the moment, it is currently a max effort lower body day on a Monday. Because all the squat racks are free, because all the bros are doing chest day. Then Tuesday, I will do a max effort upper body day. Then Wednesday will be a conditioning day, typically some kind of low impact. I've been using the Airdyne a lot recently, varying intervals. When I'm like coming back, I hadn't touched an Airdyne.
They took away our Airdyne. I
just
realized that today. Yeah.
What?
It's not at the club.
Oh my God.
You know what is at the club though? Seated calf raise, because everyone needs that, right?
Fucking A.
Time out. First of all, you need to find out where they put that.
Yeah.
I'm taking
Bring it uptown.
I'm taking.
Bring it on the street.
Yep.
Sign up.
Anyway, sorry.
Team carbs is very important to everyone. Like,
Hey,
that's
Oh, shit.
That's heated calf raise bouncing up and down. So
you need that because you need to work that soleus because that's very visible. The soleus is the one of the most visible ones. You got to work on
The
that.
fucking air bike? Seriously?
I haven't seen it.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. That's insane. What's next to it? Like the ab machine or something?
So what they did, where the Airdyne was next to the free motion cable pulleys, right? And then you had the ski erg behind it. Now it's just a rack for the slam
balls.
Oh man.
Fucking A.
Yeah. Anyway.
That is tragic. Sorry, anyway. So,
Yeah, right.
So, like one of my program, so I've been doing Airdyne intervals and just building every week to do like slightly longer intervals, working on a 1-to-1 work-rest ratio, and then I will eventually start doing maybe some of the more anaerobic stuff eventually. But then Thursday goes back to lower body, but it's more of a dynamic effort. So looking at like speed squats or speed deads, some hang cleans and things in there. Friday is a dynamic upper body day. So like those 2 days, there's where the load is a lot lighter and I'm looking to build speed on the main lifts. I'll do a little bit more accessory work because I'm not completely fried from heavy lifting. So I've got a bit more in me to do a bit more bodybuilding stuff. And then Saturday is like I will do a long walk, and then I've got like stuff at home where because I'm not working on Saturday, I will just do some stuff at home where I have a bit of fun, do some body weight stuff. But one thing that I've really incorporated a lot of recently is the high rep, high volume band work at the end of my sessions. So every lower body session, or the heavy lower body session, will finish with sled work on the treadmills that we've got, and then the dynamic day will finish with like 150 glute bridges with a band, 100 banded hamstring curls, or maybe 100 banded good mornings, that kind of stuff. Trying to do like those high rep sets of nothing less than 30. And then upper body session always finishes with like band pull aparts, banded face pulls, banded tricep extensions, banded curls, anything like that. And I tell you what, my body feels good for it. Like just prehab, it's just general prehab and rehab.
It's safe kind of. I feel the safe kind of pressure in your joints as well, right? Like, do you feel the pressure slowly increase as the band elasticity like gets stronger? Like I feel, yeah. And the banded hamstring curls burn you fucking fast as well, don't they? They're like the first thing you're like, fuck.
Yeah,
they were shutting down the club too, and you were still curling, right?
Yeah.
Is that a legit story?
150 band curls. I've got like 10 more to do.
Yeah, I saw the video.
Oh, that's for real?
Yeah, it's just funny. And it's the great thing is like, I don't know, like I know as trainers, we give our clients kind of like, we know we give them what they need and what they want,
yeah,
and what they're capable of doing. But generally how I program for me, the skeleton of it will be for my clients. So I've got no qualms. Like one, I'll never give my client anything I'm not willing to do myself or have fun. And I've got no qualms giving my client a band and saying, cool, 100 pull aparts in as few sets as possible. And I can just set them up. I might sit someone down if I know they've got like excessive thoracic flaring. I want you to sit down, press your back into the bench and just pull the band apart, or face pulls or stuff like that, where I know they're very unlikely to hurt themselves or do themselves some damage, but they'll feel it.
Yeah. It's like I don't tell my clients to do burpees.
Yeah.
I'm not doing them.
I can't remember the last time I've told my client to do a burpee.
Go ahead, sir.
No, all I'm saying is like when I've done some classes, or when I've done this is in person pre-COVID, and even like on like I'll do the Peloton app, the training.
Bar burn.
It's usually the end burpees. I'm like, you motherfuckers, you literally find the hardest thing, you put it in last. And I've done it in Growth Fitness class as well, and it's just like, bro, it's like the most demanding thing on the body, and you're gonna make it do when the body's completely wiped out. I'm like, it's depending on your, and CrossFit, same thing. It's like, all right, you said you do CrossFit as well, right? Your WOD for the day is gonna be like 30 burpees over the bar. Then it's going to be like pull-ups, and then it's going to be like some heavy snatches, and you do them as many times as you can in 20 minutes, and you're 90, like, what
90% snatches.
Yeah, I'm like, bruh, what?
Yeah, I
brutal.
mean, a time and a place. Like, I mean, the whole CrossFit thing, right?
Mm.
I don't know. I tried to do it. I tried to program for myself, but it was the one thing that I always had an issue with CrossFit was when done properly, the programming can be so good.
Mm-hmm.
But with everyone trying to do it and not fully understanding it, it became some kind of like, let's see how much we can kill ourselves and still walk out of here. I'm like, so every workout had burpees in it, every workout had cleans in it, every workout had snatches in it. I'm just like, cool.
That's a lot on the body to do every single time. And then would you say as well, like, this is based on my experience with CrossFit, that I think the coaches were pretty friendly in saying, like, if you have to regress, that's fine. But sometimes the people participating are like, all right, RX is 250 on the cleans. All right, I'm going to do it. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's for everyone to do RX every time. Like, I think it's okay to regress it. But I think it's that part of, like, I don't know if it's, have you had that experience too when people maybe should do the scale back version?
Yeah, definitely. When it's like obviously everyone rocks in and just goes like, ego is I'm going to RX that, done. Cool. That's when the coach should turn around and be like, I've seen you in here before. Do you think you can RX this? And the coach should should be a seatbelt, a safety belt for this stuff. And like, I want people to have a good workout. I want people to move well. I want people to, actually use the muscles we're supposed to be, and target the energy systems that we want here. Like, workouts are designed in CrossFit so that you target specific energy systems, you target specific skills, you target specific movement capabilities. Well, if someone who's not capable of RXing it decides to RX it, are you going to achieve any of those outcomes? And that's where the coach needs to be like, no, I need you to achieve this today. This is your workout.
In order to,
back and maybe scale it. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing. I agree. There's nothing wrong with it. It's totally okay. And sometimes that can be the biggest, and even it's the same with injuries as well, right? Like, if you have a shoulder issue, or if you've had shoulder surgery and there's like some heavy snatches in it and it's for fucking reps, it's like people are just like banging 20 out, and you're like, so maybe like, so for example, I've had knee issues, and when someone tried to cue me and coach me doing different deadlift, I was like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, this is just the best way to do it with my knee. So like, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just know that my injury history, this is the best way to do it, right? I'm not trying to be difficult. So if you're able to, and that's something I'd always do personally. Every time I go to a class or CrossFit or like some of the other things I've gone to, it's like, hey man, if the instructor doesn't know me, just so you know, I've had knee surgeries. So like, I don't really want to do the box jumps. I don't want to do anything like jumping involved. Like, give me the regression. I'll happily do it. I'll do an extra 5 per leg, whatever it is. Like, give me that can just be the issue, is taking your ego out of it. No one thinks you're any less of a man or any less of a person, right? Like, it's whatever. Like, but that's probably the hardest thing, is taking your ego out of it.
Yeah, and I think that crosses across every platform in the gym. Like, whatever it is, guys walk in, it is typically guys, because we work out, and this is just it's like a lizard brain kind of thing. Like, you walk into a gym, you're not checking out the girls. You are checking out the guy on the bench next to you and seeing if he's benching more than you. You're checking out the guy who that huge powerlifter dude in the squat rack and wondering, like, what's he squatting? Can I do that? And then you're like checking about like how much
half reps.
Yeah, like you're checking someone's squat depth and being like, no rep.
I could coach them. My client. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I am so guilty that I'm like.
Yeah, like we've all done it at some point. Like, and when you go in there and you're like, you know what, this is my workout. This is what I want to achieve out of this. Check your ego at the door. You get a much better workout out of it. Like, you actually leave thinking like, killed it today. Okay, maybe something was off a little bit here, but I had a pretty decent workout or whatever. You actually like take more out of it than you do from like leaving inside the gym.
I think you had a really, I think I want to like go shortly as well, but I think one last thing I want to touch on was you had a really good quote, I think yesterday or the day before, about like your body transformation. And it was something along the lines of like the less you checked in constantly of your progress or results, the more you just enjoy the process. Do you remember the quote?
Yeah. So it was like, I'm actually like shamelessly reading it. It's still up there. Like, and this was something else that I'd read and listened to in various podcasts, is that actually when you, and this goes back to the outcome-based goals, the more you have outcome-based goals, the more fixated we become about the goal itself.
Mm-hmm.
We forget about the process. We forget about like what it is we're supposed to be doing. And like, you get into the habit of weighing in every day. You get into the habit of doing an in-body every week. You get in the habit of like pinching and looking at yourself in the mirror every day. Like, because you're so fixated on the goal, you've forgotten what the process is and what you actually need to do. Like, what are the things you need to check off to say, done that today, that's going to be one day closer to my goal, you know? And it was like, so I posted my transformation over the last 4 or 5 months, which kind of had happened just out of what the situation had been, my environment. It had been a reflection on my environment, controlling the controllables rather than thinking about what I was trying to achieve. So I actually had no idea how I turned up in that condition. And so when I did my in-body on the Tuesday morning, I was like, okay, like I'm in the same I'm in better condition than I was 3 years ago when I was here, at this body fat level, at this muscle mass level, and I'm eating totally different. Like I'm enjoying my food more. I'm not sort of holding back from carbs. I'm not stopping myself on desserts. I'm not stopping myself on like dinner with friends if I want. And it was like, I said, like, I'm beginning to notice that my best results come when I become less attached to the outcome and more attached to my own processes, giving me more consistency. And it's starting to think, okay, I wake up in the morning, I do my walk in, that's got my step count going, that's some activity, I've prepped my food, so that's with me, that's another check in the box. I eat sort of at regular intervals, no set time, just depending on when I'm training. I've trained, check. Ate the day, check. I stretch. Is this a day where I stretch and meditate, or is this a day where I stretch and do my acupressure mat? Like little things like that, and I can just check them off. And yeah, there's been a week or two where I've not done it because of one reason or another. But then I've got back onto the wagon because I know that's the process I need to do. You know, and I don't know about you guys, but like the next thing I said was like, yes, I'm educated as a coach. I understand training, I understand nutrition, and it's much easier for me to do it for someone else. As a human, you can have all the theory and all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't look inward and apply it to where you're at, rather than where you think you're at, you're never going to get there.
Right. No, it's true.
That was something that I always like struggled with. I would always be like, oh no, but I can do this. Like I would see basic things on like how my nutrition probably should have been. And I'd be like, yeah, I can do that, but I should probably do this, or I should probably do that. And my ego was getting in the way.
Yeah.
Drop that and think about, you know what? I'm going to worry less about the goal. That's going to check my ego at the door because I'm not fixated on body fat percentages or lifting certain numbers, and just do what I need to do. Tick the boxes, dot the I's, cross the T's, whatever you need to do for that day, and focus on that.
No, for real. That's and again, that's like you just mentioned, resonate with being able to two things, right? Being completely accountable and knowing that it's something maybe you will do, but something you will do, and then also taking your ego out of it as well, right? Like if you're able to do that, I think that's phenomenal. I don't know if Angel or David want to ask anything else before because we know we've kept you on for a long time, so we appreciate you having.
I've had a blast being here with you guys. I could do this all night.
Oh, we appreciate that, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And such short notice too. So thank you. We really appreciate
it. Thanks for being here for us.
But let us know, where can people find out how to work with you and stuff like that?
So my Instagram handle is @CoachJCD, just my initials. And so like I'm going to post the links to my articles on there. My website is linked to that. And the website is coachjcd.com. Like, it's just all my writings at the moment. There is a Coach JCD Facebook page as well now. So I'm linking all my articles onto there. And you know what? It's just a space to start conversations with people. So if people want to have conversations around training, they want to ask questions and start talking about some of that stuff, like, that's the best place to reach me. Grab me on Instagram, and I'm happy to take any questions and chat to people.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
I think if you're interested, we'd love to have you back on in future as well. I'm sure, like, when things are a little different, or maybe still the same. Like, we'll see.
We're us three. We're gonna go to London. We'll get a workout up there.
Hey, anytime, you guys are always welcome. The door is always open for you. And like, I mean, like Jack, you plan on being here. I plan on being in the States at some point. My sister lives in Atlanta, so like, if I'd have gone to her, I would have flown. I would have swung by New York. Definitely.
Yeah, you let us know, man. We I feel like we know the city pretty well. We know all the spots, so maybe similar to like these guys have been in New York like their whole life, so they know way more of the best like food spots, drink spots.
The Heights, bro.
Yeah, the Heights. There you go. Yeah.
I'll bring my list of places that I've been to and I want to go to, and you can check me off on there.
We'll take you to Dykeman. Don't worry about it.
They know all the best spots, man. So
yeah, have a good time.
I was in New York when 2018. My sister was in Washington at the time. I went to see her for a few days, and then I did a week in New York afterwards. And I spent a lot of time down with the guys in Tribeca.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Hang out with them, some good food spots in by Brooklyn Bridge, like doing all the classic touristy stuff.
Yeah, there's still tons of good tourist stuff, but like, these guys know New York inside out, and they know like
we'll take you to the real Little Italy.
The real New York.
In the Bronx. Up in the Bronx, Arthur Ave. We got you.
Bring yourselves to London, and I will do the same for you.
Let's do it. I'm
awesome.
down.
Do that.
Man, so thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Here.
Yeah,
no,
thanks.
anytime, guys. Like I said, I had a blast here. Thank you for having me, and I'll be back anytime you want me.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Joey.
Buddy.
All right.
Take care, man. See you soon.
Take it easy.
Take it easy, buddy. Bye. That was pretty awesome. That was pretty dope. Glad we got to have him on such short notice. And on the other end of the pond, and it's nice to know and hear his thoughts and his adaptations through the lockdown and all the other stuff we talked about, right?
Yeah, it was great. It was good to hear another Tier X coach.
Tier X manager as well, which I forgot to mention in the beginning. I forgot to mention,
That's insane. I mean,
sorry to cramp your style, guys.
No, man, it's just, I mean, we just had Sean on, and Sean was Tier X as well. So it's cool to kind of hear like theories and, you know, how he's been managing like not only his business and like his career and all that stuff, but also personally through the lockdown and the quarantine, as you said, across the pond. So
very structured, which is kind of cool, I thought, as well. Like, very...
It's a quality, I think, which is weird because I don't feel like I am that. So it's kind of cool.
Far from it, I seem.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the things that I kind of missed from that curriculum was being around
those
like-minded people, but also like people who are respectable and people that I want, like I look up to and I want to emulate almost in a way, right? So it's cool to be around people like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that was awesome. What are you guys gonna be up to this weekend?
Botanical Gardens. I'm out.
What day are you doing
Brooklyn,
that Saturday?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Botanical Gardens. I'm checking it out. And honestly, like I've heard a lot of good spots. Spots that are in the city, speaking of tourists and tourism and all that stuff, like places that I haven't been to or I don't remember going to, like the Empire State Building, I probably went when I was a kid, things like that. Like I've heard since the lockdown, these places are not very packed, obviously, and it's a good opportunity for people to just like revisit some places that they haven't been to or they don't remember going to, just to check it out. So Botanical Gardens, I've only went to the one in the Bronx. I haven't been to the one in Brooklyn, so I'll see what that's like.
I heard good things about it too, though. David, what about you?
Nothing much. I'm gonna be with my parents tomorrow, just hanging out a little bit, and then Sunday I'm gonna go hang out with a buddy of mine and like a couple of other buddies. His brother got drafted to the Panthers.
Oh, James's brother, right?
James, yeah. So it's Jeremy Chin. So he plays for the Panthers.
Is he a lineman?
First game. I don't freaking know.
Yeah, I feel like he's either. I feel when he got drafted, he posted on Facebook, and I feel like he's a big dude, right?
He's a fucking monster.
Big
dude.
mofo. Yeah.
no,
Oh, so they're gonna
he's-
watch the first game?
He's a safety.
Oh, he's a safety?
Yeah, no, we're gonna. Oh yeah, he's gonna knock some heads. No, yeah, we're gonna go watch the game somewhere.
Who are the Panthers playing?
I could find out right now. It's like
Matter
Dave.
of fact.
And Giants are playing on Monday. It's crazy that it's football season already.
Yeah. Did you
They
guys
had
see
people-
how?
they had
Yeah.
people
So,
on the stands, right?
but did you hear how they booed the national anthem or the Black Lives Matter part? Did you guys see that?
Fucking
No.
I don't even want that shit's gonna piss me off.
Wow. So the to tell you the truth, I was watching the game and I put it on. Like I was probably on. I think I had grocery shopping right before the game, and so I have it on and I'm doing stuff. And then my buddy this morning sends me the videos of them booing, and I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, this happened." I was like, "Oh, but I watched it. How did I know?" So I obviously missed it, but I'm like, "Wow." So Houston
They might
set
have
out the
cut it.
national anthem as well.
They what?
Houston didn't even come out for the national anthem. They stayed inside. And then you're right, Angel. There's chances they may have cut it out, but pretty much they booed during the like both teams after the anthem like kind of came together for a moment of silence, and there was booing from the crowd.
Wow.
17.
No, it's crazy. What they got to do is fucking find these people there. Like, come on.
You're on national television as well, so it's not like there's not that many of you there. 16,000. It's not like there's like 70, 80,000, right? But like you're on national television. What like that is. Some people, I think, in this pandemic, this whole lockdown, people have really shown their true colors. Unfortunately, right? You know now, but it's just so it was interesting. It's just mind blowing. Gee, like you think there's like movements in the right direction, then you see little things like that. And I saw a crazy stat the other day as well. Like there hasn't been a starting white cornerback in the NFL since 2003 or something. Cornerback, like CB defensive back.
Is
right?
that still a position?
Yeah, so like the defensive back. I think they're not safety because you get like wide safeties, but like so that. But the point I'm just trying to make is that like things are changing, and you hope everyone follows suit. But and they're playing the Raiders, by the way, on Sunday.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Oh, man.
So that's what I'm doing.
Jacques, what are you doing?
I got my boys are playing game 4.
Who?
The Islanders in the.
Oh, I heard it's
whenever
like they're the underdogs now, right?
Yeah, but dude, they were like on Monday night. So
What
I'll tell
game
you
is
this
this?
as well. This is game 3 tonight and game 4
Okay.
Sunday. But game 1 was Monday night, and as I mentioned, I did a shoot for Equinox, which was like. Don't know if you guys saw my story of the view of the room. Did you guys see that?
No.
The room was
We
so
don't- I don't follow you
basically.
anymore.
Guess not. But long story short, they had us like staying in the residency. They filmed some things to show for the app, like in-home workouts of how the person will be in home. But the room they have you staying in was like the view, the glass from like from the floor to the ceiling. It's overlooking the Hudson Yards, the whole of downtown. I was pretty stoked. I was a little sick by it.
Must
looking
be
down.
nice.
Must be nice.
Let's
Must
be
be
nice. And then we finished by filming in the club like after 8 p.m. And like it was a pretty decent gig. But anyway, that same night the Islanders were playing game 1. I was like, damn, like I'm not missing it. And you know what? It's a blessing in disguise because I looked at the thing at like 8:30 or down 3-1. I checked it back at like 10:30. These bros, they lost 8-2. 8-2 is a shit kick in.
Wow.
So yeah,
Your
and
boys
then
lost 8-2?
in the game 1, yeah, and
Like
it was
Barcelona and Bayern, man.
yeah, 8
Dude,
at 8
horrible.
8 to be you. 8 to be you right now. So, but this weekend is going to be pretty low key. I think people are also reaching out more about training. So kind of seeing how that like getting to a point where like after like move things. So, but it's good. NFL season being back is definitely like, it's weird though, right? Because I know some states are going to have fans. Like we mentioned Kansas City last night in Missouri, I think, right? They're in the state of Missouri. And MetLife will have no fans the whole season.
Good.
So, but I know there'll be fans in like I think
You know what they should do?
Buccaneers and
You know what they do? You know, I mean, Jacques, you know what they do in
Basketball?
the Bundesliga or
what would I do?
La Liga
Bundesliga?
or Premier League. Like whenever fans are being assholes, they just make it in a closed stadium game.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, we'll see. But
Anyway,
All right.
yeah.
Let's wrap it up. Guys, make sure to like and subscribe to everything. And check out Jonathan at coachjcd.com. And check out the trainer feed at thetrainerfeed.com.
Cool.
All right.
All right, guys.
fellas.
Peace out.
Later.
Deuces.
Have a good one.
Bye.